What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best Harlowe build in Borderlands 4. If you've been looking for a build that feels super powerful right out of the gate, doesn't require insane gear hunting early on, and still manages to scale into the late game without falling off, then this is the setup for you. At its core, this Harlowe build revolves around radiation damage with a status effects, while also using the chroma acceleration, which acts as your nuke button. Unlike some other builds that need a ton of legendary gear to come online, this one thrives on simplicity. The key mechanic here is the neutron capture, which basically converts the part of your acceleration damage into a flat radiation bonuses on all of your weapons. That means after pressing your action skill, every single bullet you fire is amplified with the bonus radiation ticks. The more bullets you shoot, the more radiation you dish out. So naturally, the high fire rate weapons will turn into absolute shredders. The best part about this setup is that it always feels on. You don't have to wait for big cooldowns outside of the acceleration. As long as you've got a fast weapon in your hands and you're hitting enemies, then your screen is going to be filled with constant explosions of the radiation procs. And because the damage type is generic and applies to every shot, so you don't have to think too hard about target selection, but just melt everything you see from left to right. Now there's also a couple of caveats. This build does rely heavily on having radiation guns, which is not always guaranteed while leveling. But the safety net here is that almost any elemental weapon with a high fire rate will still work fine, until you can get the perfect setup. You might not feel god tier immediately if the RNG is not too kind to you, but once acceleration starts stacking with the neutron capture, then the difference is day and night. So in a summary, this build has very fast-paced gameplay, massive status effect damage and explosions everywhere. And remember, if you want to check this build, look up the best items, the skill trees and path of building, then check my link in the description. Also, if you're interested in buying other PC or console games with 50 or 70% discount, then check out Instant Gaming. For example, I want to buy Elden Ring, so we just click on Add to Cart, then click Pay, then input our details and pay. After payment is complete, we will receive activation key, then copy and paste the key in, and it's that simple. So what are you waiting for? Click my link in the description and check out Instant Gaming for yourself. So let's break down the skill tree. We're going to unlock a mix of radiation multipliers and the status damage scaling, with just enough defenses sprinkled in to keep things smooth. You will start with the cyclotron, by stacking those 5 points right away. It looks modest early, but trust me, it's the cornerstone for building momentum. The movement speed buff and the extra shield uptime will give you that firing, which syncs perfectly with the playstyle, since you will be always using ammo. From there, we immediately grab the neutron capture. This is not negotiable. It turns your chroma acceleration from just a flashy AoE skill into the backbone of the entire build. Every action skill activation will make your guns insanely strong, and this is the synergy that keeps you ahead of the curve while leveling. After that, we move into the elementary with the 5 points, which boosts all of your elemental output, but more importantly, supercharges radiation procs. Then we layer in enriched, which adds consistency to your status effect stacking. It's one of those skills that doesn't feel flashy at first, but once you're hitting multiple enemies with the acceleration, the added status chance will make your screens light up. Then Poison Sun comes next, and this is where the build starts hitting like a truck. Every kill triggers more elemental splash damage, and because acceleration primes everything within the radius, you get wave of detonation every time that the mobs go down. Add in a couple of points in the glow up to help with the sustain, and suddenly you're not just dishing out damage, you're actively keeping yourself in the fight through the chaos. Then moving deeper, we pick up the chain reaction, which is a skill that literally makes your shot bounce into nearby enemies. Combine that with the neutron capture's flat damage bonuses, and it feels like every bullet turns into a miniature nuke. From there, the demon core and the dirty bomb amplify the explosions even further, and wasted effect ensures that enemies already are weakened by radiation when it finishes faster. And then finally, to round things out, we slot points into the field ready prototype for utility, and then dip into the green trees. Here's where the flexibility comes in. The Maims Hum or the Momentum are your first go-to picks, depending on your weapon setup. So if you're running the Throwing Knives with a penetration augment, then Momentum can make you feel lightning fast, while the Main's Hum will give you smoother sustain. Past that, the Neutron Decay, Confirmative Reality and the Resonance Cascades all will pile in together for your radiation damage, which makes it scale absurdly well into the late game. And don't forget about the practical applications if you want more balanced defenses, or if you prefer the raw speed and the reckless gameplay, then invest into Get Up and Go. Next up, let's take a look at the equipment. With the Harlowe, the number one priority is always a radiation weapon with a high status effect damage. Ideally, you're looking for a melee 1 SMG, because their natural elemental output and the fire rate just synergize perfectly. Then the Vladov's AR also slot in nicely thanks to their insane rate of fire, but honestly anything that can dump a ton of bullets will feel great as long as it's prac status. Now, if RNG blesses you, then Penetrator Augment on the throwing knives is straight up broken. Against bosses or tanky elites, this thing shreds. If you just happen to find it, then consider shifting a few points around in the tree to pull some from the glowing up and drop them into the fissile launcher, or even periodic table flip to maximize the payoff. Attachment wise, you want to keep an eye out for the spread launchers, knife launchers, and tasers or the shotgun under barrels. These are overtuned right now and can turn even a mediocre weapon into a monster. And here's a fun trick, because they run on internal cooldowns, you can actually bypass that by swapping weapons. So just cycle between two guns with the same attachments and suddenly you're spamming rockets or taser shots non-stop. Then for rep kits, you want to prioritize action skill cooldown rate above everything else. The faster that you get acceleration back, the faster that you can trigger the neutron capture. And that's literally where the bulk of our DPS comes from. After that, the EMP damage, lifesteal or the movement speed are excellent for keeping your rhythm going. And then ordnance wise, grab anything that can output consistent radiation damage, so homing grenades or the radiation rocket launchers will fit perfectly. Now let's go into the upgrades and the class mods, because this is where you start shaping the build to fit your personal playstyle. Early on, class mods are whatever you can get your hands on, so don't stress too much, but ideally you want one that enhances neutron capture, poison stun or the chain reaction. Even small percentage increases in these skills will snowball fast when you already are stacking status effects. Then for upgrades, they should lean into the cooldown reduction first, then EMP bonuses for your guns, then cooldown rate to keep your acceleration up constantly, which translates into near permanent bonuses for radiation damage, while EMP bonuses will push your baseline DPS through the roof. And don't underestimate the healing effects. Lifesteal tied to the status damage can make you unkillable when you're chewing through the mobs. Next up, let's take a look at the best farming spots. The good news is that you don't need insane legendary jobs to feel powerful, but if you want a reliable farming loop, then Sydney Pointy Legs in the Hungering Plain is still the best. Our insane damage are perfect to fuel the acceleration, and the boss himself will melt to your bonus radiation damage. And then once you've captured the drill site, you can endlessly reset it with the Moxies and Core Machine, which means that you always have a fresh loot and XP coming in. Around level 15, enhancements will start dropping in more consistently, and that's where you can grab some key cooldown rate boosts. By level 20, class mods will begin to round things out, and from that point and onwards, the scaling really kicks in. Outside of the Sydney, just stick to the contracts and the farmable bosses, and prioritize side quests that drop elemental weapons. Because of how this build works, even a small upgrade in the fire rate or the status chance will feel like a massive power spike. And now finally, let's see how to actually play this build. The rotation is simple but incredibly satisfying. Step 1 is to pop your chroma acceleration and make sure that you tag multiple enemies within. This primes neutron capture and turns every gun into the radiation cannons. Then next, unload with the highest fire rate weapon. Every shot will chain explosions, status ticks and the splash damage. By creating that signature, everything is melting feeling. And then the final step, during acceleration downtime, you just want to rely on the rep kit with the cooldown reduction. This is also the perfect time to throw grenades or use ordnance, since your raw gun damage dips a bit without the neutron capture. So the real beauty of this build is how it snowballs. Accelerator kills feed into the poison stun, chain reaction and the dirty bomb, which feeds into the more explosions, which then again even feeds into more faster room clears. And because cooldown gear will shorten acceleration downtime, you're almost always just few seconds away from your next radiation wave. The pacing is what makes it addictive. You're never waiting around for one big nuke. Your action skill is just the spark that sets off the constant chain reaction, and by the time that you are in the mid game, you will find yourself deliberately pulling bigger packs of enemies just to enjoy watching them all blow up at once.